Do you have a team for tomorrow?
Ben Cutting and Stephen Smith miss out, unfortunately, tomorrow. Hopefully they'll get a crack in Adelaide, but
Batting order?
Batting order will be Finch, Hughes, Khawaja, Bailey, Hussey, Maxwell, Haddon. And then it'll be a physical challenge for the rest of them.
Top three's all ODI debutants.
Top three all debutants. So that's exciting, and but certainly all three I think have earned their place there. Their domestic records outstanding. I think the couple of 2020 games that Finchie's played, he's played really well. Man of the match in one of those. And Hughes obviously looked really at home in the test side since he's been back there. So looking forward to seeing how they go.
Must be obviously a big vote of confidence for all three of them, giving him a shot all at once at the same time at the top.
Yeah, it is, and as I said, I mean, I think they fully deserve that. I think their domestic form's been really strong. I think they all have outstanding games for international cricket. I think Uzi and Hughesy in all three forms. Finchie's red ball cricket's been a bit down, but there's no doubting his ball striking ability.
George, given that I suppose a few of the selections in the squad are with different things in mind, like Maxwell and Khawaja, I suppose, are picked with a bit of an eye on the India tour as well. Does that affect the way you use them at all? Like with Maxi, will you be sort of wanting to give him a good bowl in the...
No, well, certainly I haven't been given any instruction on that. No, I mean, just the makeup of the side means that Maxi probably will get a bowl at some stage. But certainly any instruction I've been given is just to go out and win the game. So I think there's opportunities for certainly those two, but for a lot of the guys in the side, the newer members of the side, to push for a claim on that Indian tour. There's a lot of one-day cricket, obviously some big test tours coming up as well going forward, and there's some holes that have been left in that Australian side. So I'm sure there's opportunities for those two. I'm sure there's plenty of opportunities for many others as well. Pleasure. I'm used to the big bash ones, it's weird to have a normal hat on.
George, how does the lack of experience, I guess, Mitchell Johnson and Brad Haddon and Dave Hussey are essentially the three senior guys in the team in terms of ODIs played. How does that kind of affect the group mindset, and that there's going to be quite a few guys really trying to prove themselves, and your leadership out on the field, there's perhaps not as many people to discuss it with as sometimes are?
Probably not internationally. I mean, there's those guys you mentioned hold a wealth of experience, so there'll certainly be enough help from my front, and as to the mindset of the group, I think there's a real air of excitement within the group. There's no doubt that the side's been picked with an eye on that World Cup in 2015, and hopefully by that stage, the guys that are making it there, if they are the debutants or the newer members of the side, have 40 or 50 games under their belt and certainly are feeling more and more comfortable. It'll be fresh. The one thing that we've really been pushing in the last couple of days is for those guys to feel as comfortable as they can, as quickly as they can, and that's within the roles they play around the group. The skills they have and what they've shown domestically and in the small amount of international games that some of the guys have played, we want them to go out and to bat exactly or bowl exactly like they are, and not to feel like they have to replace a Mike Hussey or feel like they have to replace a Ricky Ponting. The skills that the guys have got are good enough, so it's about them going out and feeling comfortable enough to express that, and I think if we do, the side's certainly good enough to get this side off to a really good start in the series.
Is there also a bit of motivation, I suppose, to erase the perception that this is a, not a full strength team, that it's a B team that's just been sort of thrown, like that perception's been thrown around a little bit, given that so many guys have been rested?
Oh yeah, it's still the Australian cricket team, isn't it? And I'm sure Sri Lanka won't be taking it as an Australia B team or whatever you want to call it. But so I think it's the Australian cricket team. As I said, I think there's no doubt that there's one eye on different tours coming up this year, and also on the World Cup in 2015. And I think if these guys perform really well, what you could see is the core of the Australian side come 2015. I think Mike Hussey comes in, Wadey and Davey Warner. Maybe later on in this series, but certainly as far as this group goes, I think it's the right side for these first two games.
Did you say that Hussey is a chance to come back in later in the series?
Did I? Sorry, I didn't mean that if I mentioned Huss. I don't think he will be.
Sorry, just wanted to check on
No.
that first. The whole B team perception, do you find that offensive or how do you find that?
Well, I mean, I can probably understand it coming from Channel 9. I think they're about to go into negotiations for the TV rights. I think that was a pretty tactical move to try and talk down one-day cricket and what the Australian team's putting out. But I still think it's the Australian, as I said, it's still called the Australian cricket team. Whether you're missing a couple of players through injury at any stage, or this is, for these two games, this is the best side that Australia can put out, and I've got no doubt that if guys perform well, for sure there'll be a few debutants in this game, but going forward I think you'll see these guys a lot more in one-day cricket. I think you'll see some of them play Test cricket, so the calibre of player is certainly there.
Is it also a challenge for the likes of Hughes, Finch, Khawaja to get big scores and say, if you want my spot, you're going to have to come and take it?
Yeah, well, that's the other flip side of it. It's an opportunity, huge opportunity, and a great one. And not only for those guys, but I think any opportunity you do get to play for Australia is to make sure that you are doing that. And that, I guess, is part of what we've been talking to the guys about, is coming in and what you want from your top 4, top 5 in one-day cricket is for them to score the bulk of the runs and to win you the game. And whether it's your first game or your 50th game, that expectation doesn't change. And that's how we've been preparing. We don't talk to the players as though it's the first game of cricket they've played. They've got a wealth of experience. A lot of them have played international cricket, some in other forms, played overseas a lot, so they're ready to go.
George, you've got quite a few good scores under your belt personally the last several times you played for Australia. How do you deal personally with the criticism that you may or may not have earned your place in the team?
Well, I don't, unless someone says it to my face, I'm not aware of it, because I don't read much.
I guess when the team comes out, they're surprised that you're captain, but your results for Australia are they're fine. They're excellent.
I get told by the selectors that I'm the captain. I'm honoured to do it. I'm looking forward to doing it, and that's how I approach it.
Have you got a thought on the scheduling, the Big Bash scheduling against the ODI series?
I think ideally it'd be great if the Australian players were available for more games of the Big Bash, but the way the scheduling is, it's pretty difficult. There's no doubt about that. I don't think playing for Australia should ever be compromised. I think this is still absolutely the pinnacle, and making sure that you can prepare and play as well as you can for Australia should always be the number one priority for a player.
Are you averse to someone sneaking away for a couple of days if you've got a 3 or 4 day break?
If the gap's there, if it's available and guys are physically able to do it, then absolutely, and I think that's been done at different stages throughout the tournament, and that's obviously very much a balancing question, but I think the selectors and management have made pretty good calls on that. For the Big Bash competition, you'd love to see sides at full strength, particularly coming into final sides. But I think the way the international schedule is, it's a pretty full summer.
John Inverarity was out there today having some fairly in-depth conversations with a couple of boys. What's the reaction when he's out there? He's not out there all that often.
Most of your conversations with Invers are pretty in-depth. He's an intense man. It's the school teacher in him coming out. But I think it's good. He's pretty. Well, my conversations with him around the group are pretty relaxed, and they could be talking about golf swings or gardening. I wouldn't know. So I think it's nice to have him around. I think one of the things that he and Mickey have done really well since they've come on board is communicate pretty openly and well with the players. I think all the players know at any given stage where they stand.
Do you think it could be a good sign for the Test team for Haddin and Hussey's hopes?
That they're here? Well, as I said earlier, I think there's a lot of players there's opportunities there, and for the Indian tour, for the England tour further down the track, there's no doubt there's opportunities to be grabbed. I'm sure they'd be excited. They'd be wanting to play as well as they can in these games, along with absolutely everyone.
More particularly the half an hour conversations Inverarity was having with those two.
Right. Oh, I'm not sure. No, yeah, I've got no idea. Were they looking despondent or happy or? Yeah.
46,000 here the other night for a Big Bash game. I think they're expecting probably about half that tomorrow night. We have this debate every year, but where do you think the one-day game is at leading into a World Cup that's going to be staged in Australia? And I think this is the first series you guys have played with some tweaks to the rules as well. Like, yeah, do you think they'll help jazz it up a little bit, or is there anything you think needs to happen?
Well, I might have a bit of a left field view, but I think the way that sport is shown on TV now is so good, and you get so much information thrown at you that the better it gets delivered to you, the couch, the less reasons there are to leave and watch it at a ground. I think Big Bash is popular because it goes for 3 hours. It fits in nicely. There's no doubt one day cricket takes a bit longer, and I think Test matches are becoming a real event in themselves. It's as much about the spectacle and the event itself as the cricket. So one day cricket, as far as crowds go, will be challenged at different times, but I still think the actual cricket itself is very, very good. I thought what James Hope said about the game, about having a chance to actually showcase your skills and build an innings and show some different skills and go through some different phases as bowlers, was spot on. There is always going to be a huge element of luck in T20, and I think Test cricket will always be the ultimate test, and I think one day cricket certainly sits nicely in the middle of those two.
So do you think enough is being done by Cricket Australia or other authorities to, I guess, enough love is being shown to one-day cricket, I suppose, to keep its appeal?
Well, the rule changes are going to be interesting. We've had them for a couple of years at the domestic level. My only concern with those is not to continue to make them too batter friendly. I don't think necessarily higher scoring games become better games of cricket. The contest is, or an even contest between bat and ball, still provides the best games of cricket. Really looking forward to seeing how the international players adapt. I think 4 outs challenged the spinners at a domestic level, but I've also seen the best spinners adapt pretty well and still find ways to dominate the game or contribute really well in games. I like the fact that bowlers do get a second bouncer. I like that leaves a bit more uncertainty, in the over. So I think they're interesting rule changes. I think anything where people who are watching the game or watching on TV are not sure what's going to happen, anything that provides a little bit of uncertainty, even to make captains or teams think on their feet a little bit more, are good changes for the game.
You mentioned, George, earlier, the players obviously fighting for spots on the Indian tour. Your name's been thrown up in recent days. Do you see this as sort of a dress rehearsal for yourself as well, for possibly fighting for that vacant test spot made by Mike Hussey?
I'm aware there's an opportunity there. I don't think anything's a dress rehearsal. I don't know how many games I'll get to play for Australia, so everything, and I'm sure all the guys are the same. They're going to be out there to do their best, and I'm not sure there'll be many blokes out there tomorrow thinking too much about the Indian tour. I think it's going to be challenging enough on our plates to try and win this series, let alone worry about that. I think it's a really simple equation for the batting group, and that's to score runs and be in good form for as long as you can, to prove that you're a match winner, to play spin well, and those opportunities, if you do all those things, will certainly emerge.
Sri Lanka seems pretty confident about this series. I think Jeevan Mendes yesterday was quoted as saying they're pretty confident possibly a series win. They've had some pretty good outings the last few tours in the one-day arena anyway, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. Yeah, their one-day cricket's been really, really strong, really consistent, and even just watching a few of the replays of the games last year, there was some great contests. I don't think the playing in Australia and Australian conditions holds many fears to the Sri Lankans in the one-day format. So no doubt it's going to be very, very tough.
Can I just ask, last night, Hale's effort, did you watch it and what did you think of it straight off the plane from the UK?
Yeah, good effort. I missed it, but pretty phenomenal effort. It was, I guess, from a domestic point of view, the rest of the teams were really we're going to see how the Renegades responded when they lost Finchy and obviously Marlon in those circumstances. So so for him to walk off the plane and do that will certainly, I think, give the Renegades a lot of confidence heading into their semi-finals.